announce a ceasefire and a hostage deal has been reached between Israel and Hamas.
U.S. President Joe Biden, in the final days of his presidency, confirmed the successful negotiation of a ceasefire in Gaza after more than 15 months of bloodshed.
The deal is structured in 3 phases. Phase 1 will last 6 weeks. It includes a full and complete ceasefire, withdrawal of Israeli forces from all the populated areas of Gaza, and the release of a number of hostages held by Hamas, including women and elderly and the wounded. In exchange, Israel released hundreds of Palestinian prisoners.
The U.S. and fellow mediator Qatar said the ceasefire would take effect on Sunday. It comes after months of on and off negotiations by Egyptian and Qatari mediators, with the backing of the United States. At a news conference in Doha, Qatar's prime minister said the deal includes the release of 33 Israeli hostages, including all women, children, and men over 50 years old. Israel's acceptance of the deal will not be official until it is approved by the country's security cabinet and government. An Israeli official said votes were slated for Thursday. On the streets of Tel Aviv and in Khan Yunis, Israelis and Palestinians both celebrated the news.
We are happy with this victory because the Palestinian people simply want their freedom. Freedom for the Palestinian people. We don't want anything but freedom and to live with dignity without occupation.
United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres said the priority now must be on getting humanitarian aid into Gaza.
The humanitarian situation is at catastrophic levels, and I call on all parties to facilitate the rapid, unhindered and safe humanitarian relief for all civilians in need.
On October 7, 2023, Hamas-led gunmen broke through security barriers and burst into Israeli border area communities, killing 1,200 soldiers and civilians and abducting over 250 foreign and Israeli hostages. In response, Israel's air and ground war in Gaza has since killed over 46,000 people, according to Gaza Health Ministry figures. Despite Wednesday's breakthrough, residents and medics said Israeli airstrikes killed several people Wednesday evening in Gaza, just hours after the ceasefire deal was reached.
President Joe Biden capped his half-century political career on Wednesday with a final Oval Office speech. In it, he warned of a nascent American oligarchy.
Today, an oligarchy is taking shape in America of extreme wealth, power, and influence that literally threatens our entire democracy, our basic rights and freedoms, and a fair shot for everyone to get ahead.
He did not mention names, but Tesla CEO Elon Musk, the world's richest man, has not only amassed vast wealth, but also become a powerful advisor to Donald Trump, who will take over as president from Biden on Monday. Biden then invoked the 1961 farewell address of President Dwight Eisenhower, who had warned of the dangers of a, quote, military-industrial complex gaining power in the country.
6 decades later, I'm equally concerned about the potential rise of a tech-industrial complex that could pose real dangers for our country as well. The free press is crumbling. Editors are disappearing. Social media is giving up on fact-checking.
Biden's comments came after social media company Meta Platforms recently scrapped its U.S. fact-checking program and reduced curbs on discussions around contentious topics such as immigration and gender identity. Critics say the move amounted to bowing to criticism from conservatives like Trump. Biden also warned about the dangers of artificial intelligence and the need to ensure controls on what he called, quote, the most consequential technology of our time, perhaps of all time. His foreboding speech comes as his Democratic Party has little leverage in national politics. Meanwhile, Trump has nominated a slate of cabinet members who have pledged to upend traditional American alliances and governing norms.
Chinese officials and automakers are eyeing German factories slated for closure. According to a person with knowledge of Chinese government thinking, there's a particular interest in Volkswagen sites. Buying a factory could allow China to build influence in Germany's prized auto industry. Chinese companies have invested across a range of industries in Europe's biggest economy, from telecommunications to robotics. But it's yet to set up traditional car manufacturing there, despite Mercedes-Benz having 2 large Chinese shareholders. Any such move could mark China's most politically sensitive investment yet. VW has long been a symbol of Germany's industrial prowess, now threatened by a global economic slowdown hitting demand and a creaking transition to green technologies. Building cars in Germany for sale in Europe would allow China's EV makers to avoid paying EU tariffs on electric cars imported from China. The source added that investment decisions would hinge on the new German government's stance towards China following an election in February. VW is exploring alternative uses for its Dresden and Osnabrück factories under a cost-cutting drive to pare back its German operations.
Blue Origin's giant New Glenn rocket blasted off from Florida Thursday morning. It was its first mission to space and a giant leap for Jeff Bezos' company as it aims to rival Elon Musk's SpaceX in the satellite launch business. New Glenn, standing at 30 stories tall with a reusable first stage, launched from Cape Canaveral in Florida. Its 7 engines thundered for miles under cloudy skies.
We got to orbit safely. Congratulations!
Hundreds of employees roared in applause when the rocket's second stage made it to orbit and achieved a long-awaited milestone. The rocket's reusable first stage booster was due to land on a barge in the Atlantic Ocean after separating from its second stage, but failed to make that landing. The mission was a culmination of a decade-long, multi-billion-dollar development journey. It marks Blue Origin's first trek to Earth's orbit in the 25 years since Bezos founded the company. Secured inside New Glenn's payload bay for the mission is the first prototype of Blue Origin's Blue Ring vehicle. It's a spacecraft the company plans to sell to the Pentagon and commercial customers for national security and satellite servicing missions. Bezos watched the launch from a few miles away in Blue Origin's mission control room. New Glenn is expected to press ahead with a backlog of dozens of missions worth hundreds of millions of dollars. It includes up to 27 launches for Amazon's Kuiper satellite internet network that will rival SpaceX's Starlink service. New Glenn is the latest US rocket to debut in recent years as governments and private companies beef up their space programs.